Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Welcome back. Today is going to be another kind of shelf highlight, a slow way to go through my shelves as a, sort of a library tour that I've been kind of working on. And today I thought I'd go through some of my nonfiction books. I've got a shelf down here at the bottom that I keep those on. And yeah, I like to read nonfiction from time to time. It's not something I read a whole lot of course. I always like to try to do better. You know that whole song. But yeah. So let's just dig right in to some of these. So I always like books like this. This is Bad Girls Throughout History: 100 Remarkable Women Who Changed the World by Anne Shin. It just has it has great artwork in this one. It just goes through 100 awesome women. I like books like that. Yep. I've got Cast by Isabel Wilkerson. This is The Origins of Our Discontents. I still need to read this one. I did read her other book. I'm not going to think of it now. The book about the Great Migration, which was fantastic. So I know this is good too, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. As same with this one, I want to read this so badly. She Came to Slay: The Life and Times of Harriet Tubman by Erica Armstrong Dunbar. I want to read this so bad. Why haven't I read this yet? It's awesome pictures of Harriet. Oh my god. So yeah, I just like the way it's written too and formatted, and it sounds amazing. Yeah, I really need to read more. So Carol Anderson's One Person, No Vote: How Voter Suppression is Destroying Our Democracy. Sounds pretty timely, at least here in the U.S. I have a copy of Prince, The Beautiful Ones. It's just a gorgeous book. I think if you're a Prince fan, this is definitely a must-have. It's just because it's beautiful. It's filled with photographs, like old letters, and all kinds of stuff. It's amazing. It's a gorgeous book. And of course the book itself is purple. Yeah, it's a gorgeous book. Speaking of singers, I've got Liz Phair's Horror Stories. This is her memoir. It came out a year or two ago. And man, I used to love Liz Phair back in the day. I listened to Exile in Guyville, I don't know, over and over and over again. It's 2019, this one came out. So yeah, it's got some pictures in there too. And I still need to read this one, but icon. I do have, I've got Ben Crump's Open Season. I do need to read this one too. I'm very interested in what he has to say, and I think this will be a very good book. So, but it's legalized genocide of colored people is sort of the tagline there. Let me check that one out. Let me make a little stack down here on the floor. So let's pick these ones up here. A few more kind of hardbacks. Another Carol Anderson is We Are Not Yet Equal: Understanding Our Racial Divide. Carol Anderson with Tanya Bolden. So sort of, discussions of race and all that good stuff. I'm nervous to read this one. This is called Rosemary, The Hidden Kennedy Daughter by Kate Clifford Larson. I just feel like this is going to be so sad. So I just haven't read it yet. But Rosemary was different, right? She probably had some sort of disability, and she lived somewhat with the family, but then somewhat in institutions, and I know it was lobotomized, and it was I have to be prepared for that one. Educated by Tara Westover, her memoir. I still haven't read that. I know everyone's read this one already, but I haven't. Got The Hot Zone by Richard Preston. It's about the Black, not, I said the Black Plague. That's not right. It's about Ebola. I haven't read that yet either. Okay, it's on my nonfiction shelf, but I love this book. It's called 1,000 Places to See Before You Die. So my husband and I, we went through and flagged all the places that we have been, either separately or together. And so we've traveled a lot of the U.S. We really have, and we've taken we did a big road trip one summer where we drove around a lot of the country. So we've seen a lot of the U.S. I have been very fortunate for that. So, and we've done a little bit of international traveling, but not a whole lot. But yeah, those books are always fun. No library is complete without the Guerrilla Girls. That's a companion to the history of Western art. We're at all interested into the sort of feminism and art world. The Guerrilla Girls are where it's at. And I love this book. It just documents how a lot of times art museums don't, they just don't show women artists. They're not displayed as much on the museum walls, things like that. So that's fun. And speaking of women artists, so we got Women, Art, and Society. This is by Whitney Chadwick. This is actually an old textbook. This was when I was in college. That we used this in. Took a women's artist sort of history kind of class. So it really is just kind of goes through the history of women's artists throughout history, really. And it's a book I kept a hold of course, because it's a great book. I got a couple of Krakauer books, so they're kind of mixed up, but I've got Under the Banner of Heaven. I do really want to read this before I watch that show. Is it a show or a movie? I think it's a series, because it sounds amazing. I need to read it. This is one that I picked up for my husband, but I don't think he ever read it. But The Passion for Nature, The Life of John Muir. I imagine it's sort of about his life and his one with nature-ness. I've got The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson. I think this is a bit of a memoir for her. I don't know, I haven't read it. Nor have I read Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson, because I'm an awful person. This is an old book, you guys. I've had this book for a long time. This is Angles by Jim Rose. Do you guys remember the Jim Rose Circus Sideshow back in the 90s? So I went to, what year was that? They did their final tour of the Jim Rose Circus Sideshow, and I went. My sister and I went, and he had put this book out of basically how to do kind of some old school sideshow stuff. And I got to meet him, and he signed my book and everything, but it's really like how to stick hammer the nail up your nose and all that kind of stuff. It's fun. This is more a reference book, I guess. The Dictionary of Symbols. I used, I would dig into this. I was a fine art major in college, and so I would kind of dig into this sometimes if I was looking for something for a painting or something. But it's something I kept on to too, because a lot of times I will actually kind of, if I've got something that I'm dreaming about, I'll look into that too. So there is a U.S. and Canada version of the 1,000 Places to See Before You Die, so it goes into more detail. These are more art books. I have a lot of art books, and there's still more down there, but I don't know if anyone's interested in art books, but I've got this little book of women artists, and it's just, a lot of, speaking of the Guerrilla Girls and Frida Kahlo, of course, I've got an Art Now book, one of these little Taschen books that just is, more kind of modern art, kind of a list of artists, sort of. I've got Scoot Over and Make Some Room, Creating a Space Where Everyone Belongs by Heather Avis. This is the story. Heather Avis is pretty prolific in the Down syndrome community. She has 2 children with Down syndrome, and she also has a child of mixed race background. And this book is really, like it says, creating space, like making space for people to be purposefully inclusive in your life, and in your day to day. And so she kind of goes through that with kind of her life and all that kind of good stuff. The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. I have read this one. I read this book, you guys, and it was really good. So this takes place during the time of the Chicago World's Fair, while also mixing in the goings on of Sir H.H. Holmes, the serial killer. It was good. I really liked it a lot. I've got David Eggers' Zetuin, and I still haven't read this. Gosh, I need to read this, but this is kind of around the time period of Hurricane Katrina. And I've heard it's pretty good, so I need to redo that one. This is Songs of the Gorilla Nation, My Journey Through Autism by Dawn Prince Hughes, PhD. So she has autism, and she talks about what that is like for her. Oh, I read this one, Shrill by Lindy West. I read this book, and it was good. I like this a lot. She's really funny. So this just basically kind of like little essays of different things, right? Another book. I'm gonna read this soon. I should probably do this for Nonfiction, November maybe. Ninth Street Women by Mary Gabriel. This talks about Lee Krasner, Elaine de Kooning, Grace Hardigan, Joan Mitchell, and Helen Frankenthaler, 5 painters of the movement that changed modern art. So I want to read this so bad. And so I think, let me think. Is it kind of divvied up by, yeah, so like it's kind of divvied up by person a little bit, and then kind of their artwork, how it, interacted with the time period, that kind of thing. Of course, it's got some cool pictures. So, yeah, very cool. Look at Joan Mitchell in her studio. Yeah, I'm looking at this makes me want to read it right now, so I gotta read that soon. And this one, I really need to read this too. Yeah, it's got a little bent here, but this is called No Pity: People with Disabilities Forging a New Civil Rights Movement by Joseph P. Shapiro. It kind of just says, yeah, that's what it says, and I did start this. I've got a bookmark in here, but I don't know, I got distracted, and so I do need to read this. Yeah. This is one I bought on vacation one time. It's called Women of the Smokies by Courtney Licks, and it basically just has a little kind of story about a bunch of different women of the Smokies, area here in the U.S. So like Olive Tilford Dargan, and then it has a little bit about her, and then goes on to the next lady, Lottie Queen Stamper, a Cherokee basket maker. So it just sounds really cool. I've got this one. It's called Black Disabled Ancestors by Leroy F. Jr. It's just a sort of thin little kind of pamphlet almost book. It's mixed. It's got some artwork in there too, and I was looking for something from a Black disabled perspective, and this kind of came up once upon a time. This is my husband's book, AWOL on the Appalachian Trail by David Miller. My husband was a thru hiker. He thru-hiked the entire Appalachian Trail in 1995. So that's a big part of his life, and this is basically this guy's kind of journey of hiking the trail. And so he read that book. Hey, I read this book, Incopa by Truman Capote. It's of course kind of a true crime sort of book. I've read this one, Women, Race, and Class by Angela Davis. So it's right what it is. It goes through the history of women, race, and class, how it intersects. This is a nice book. It's called Gifts. Mothers reflect on how children with Down syndrome enrich their lives. This was given to me when my son was born, and it really was a kind of what I needed, a breath of fresh air. Basically, people tell their stories. So this is Emily Vesper, and she tells the story of her, her loved one with Down syndrome, and this is a great gift for someone who maybe has recently got a Down syndrome diagnosis or has just had a child with Down syndrome. And there is a gifts too also. What else over here? I've got a copy of The Feminine Mystique that I was going to read one. I'm going to buy and read it, and then As Long as the Grass Grows, an indigenous fight for environmental justice from colonization to Standing Rock by Dina Gilio Whitaker. Sounds fantastic. That's not okay. These are just Down syndrome. Look, a whole parents' guides to Down syndrome. Whole child reading. I need to get in that reading book actually. I should probably leave it out on the top. But White Rage. Actually, I don't even remember owning this. I should probably read it. Of course, The Body Is Not an Apology, The Power of Radical Self-Love. That's when you're Renee Taylor. You can read Girls of Atomic City, Untold Story of the Women Who Helped Win World War II by Denise Kieran. Sounds fantastic. Yeah, this just sounds great. No library is complete also without People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. I remember reading this and it just like changed my life. I read this a long time ago. I still have like remarked things. Here is another Krakauer book, Where Men Win Glory. So this is about Pat Tillman. He was a football player who just joined the army, kind of post 9/11, and then he was killed in Afghanistan. So I'm sure it's really good. Nomadland. Actually, my husband has read this one. I did really like it, so I probably should give it a go too. I've got Being Human, the unrepented author, an unrepentant memoir of a disability rights activist. Of course, Judith Human is, big name of the disability movement. It's another one of my husband's Appalachian Trail books. This is called 2,000 Miles Together, the story of the largest family to hike the Appalachian Trail by Ben Crawford. The Crawford family hiked the Appalachian Trail. I think it was 2019. I want to say it was 2019. And they documented it actually on YouTube. You can watch them hiking the trail together. So we watched their trail videos that year, and then Ben came out with the book afterward, and I bought this for my husband one year for Christmas or his birthday or something. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory by Caitlin Doty. I was just gifted this one by my friend Kelly recently. Okay, last little stack. One of my favorite books is Into the Wild by John Krakauer, documenting the story of Christopher McCandless. I love that. Count Us In, Growing Up with Down Syndrome by Jason Kinsley and Mitchell Lovitz. Story of these two fellows here. The Shape of the Eye, a memoir by George Estrich. I talked about these in my Down syndrome videos, but this is a really lovely memoir. Packing for Mars by Mary Roach. I've been wanting to read this about what it is actually to be in space and stuff. Here Comes the Sun. Now this is not a nonfiction book actually, so never mind. I'm gonna stick this over here because it's in the wrong spot. And I think that's all it. Probably have a few stragglers here and there, but that's mainly what I've got on this shelf here in this room anyway. And so I probably should get a little better about reading nonfiction, but I got things to choose from when I'm in the mood, right? So, all right, that's today's shelf highlight, and I hope you enjoyed that. let me know some of your favorite nonfiction books, or have you read any of these? Should I make them a priority? As always, thanks so much for your time. I'm always so appreciative. I really do appreciate your time. So that's going to do it for me. Until next time, friends. Bye.